How we doing? I decided quite a few months back that I wanted to start doing a podcast type videos, uh, but for some reason I was very reluctant. I have a love hate relationship with social media, so while I had the idea, I just didn't start it. To be fair, but rather than entitling this as a podcast, I wanted to start something that just basically I can just voice my thoughts on certain issues, etc. So I spoke to my friend yesterday, which inspired me to start this Wes thoughts or thoughts on ideas, etc. Whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So this is not scripted, so there may be some bleepers along the way. I apologise in advance if there are. But yeah, I spoke to my friend yesterday, who I haven't spoke to for a long time. I've known him probably 20 odd years, and I decided to call him. We had a good conversation, and today I felt like talking about therapy because it was brought up yesterday. I was talking about our life issues, things that we go through, and therapy came up. Now, I was a person that had a certain stigma around therapy, and I was reluctant to do any of it, to be fair, because I kind of seen therapy as it's for broken people. Now, I would argue that we're all broken in some way, shape or form, and to admit that takes big balls, to be fair. Takes big balls. So I wasn't at that point ready to admit that, that there might be something broken in there, maybe to explore that. But to my surprise, I've undertaken quite a few sessions over the last 12 months or so, and it's been a really interesting journey, to be fair, really interesting. And the reason why I decided to do that is because, like all of us, we pick up issues from childhood, young adolescence into maturity, and that then can translate into human patterns. And sometimes it's just about just stopping and saying, well, why do I do these things? So yeah, I took the opportunity probably about 12 months ago to kind of undertake some therapy sessions. It's not cheap, by the way. And currently I'm on a break because, as you can imagine, doing therapy is quite mentally taxing. I remember leaving quite a few sessions feeling just completely drained, to be fair. So yeah, I'm currently on a break, but I've done quite a few sessions, and it's been really interesting with a nice lady called Diane, quite local to me. And I wasn't sure what to expect, quite apprehensive before going to the first session. But we explored my childhood relationships to the way I am currently now. And it's been a really, really interesting journey. Really, really interesting. So the reason why I want to touch on this is because I mentioned therapy to my friend yesterday. And to my surprise, there's quite a lot of people that are still reluctant to do therapy. And I just kind of want to shed some light on my experience with therapy, to get rid of that stigma, because in my opinion, everyone should try therapy. Like, I don't know any individual that hasn't had some type of broken childhood, and obviously there's some severity levels to that. Some type of issues in childhood that they've carry into their adolescence, and I'll touch on a little bit of that in a bit more detail. I'm not going to harp on. This is not going to be an hours long episode of me chat and waffle. It's just going to be me touching on my experiences and my opinions. I might even throw in a little resource at the end, which has helped me along the way. But yeah, I mentioned therapy to him, and he was very reluctant to kind of go down that path. And as I explained, the journey that you go through, and to understand and to... I'm a really keen advocate in regards to psychology. I love psychology. I love understanding how people operate, how people work, including myself. And I think me going to therapy has awakened a different type of self-awareness. that if I didn't go, I probably wouldn't have known, to be fair. So yeah, childhood issues is a big one, and there are a lot of people, including myself. Now that I'm aware of it, I can kind of counteract my behaviour to that walk around with a lot of childhood wounded issues, and as adults it's our responsibility to deal with that. And I'll touch on a couple of examples shortly. So what we tend to do is we get these issues as kids, and then we bring it into our relationships, into friendships, into our relationships, into the way we operate, not realising that actually that's a childhood issue. Why are we acting like that? So yeah, I decided to embark on the journey, and it was so interesting. Even to the point where my therapist was saying to me stuff like, you should think about becoming a therapist, because I'd ask questions and I'd want to explore more, and some things I already knew, some things I wasn't aware of, and it just allowed me to kind of get a better understanding of myself, other people, and just generally understanding, really. So yeah, one of my issues in my adolescence, as an example, was in relationships, for example, I tend to act as the hero. So I'm trying to save people from their own issue, from themselves, essentially. And when we explored that, it was quite interesting to find that, don't get me wrong, I've got a loving family, but there's times as a kid that I needed rescuing, and I was looking for that individual to rescue me, and I couldn't find them. So as a young adolescent, young mature man, I tried to save the women in the relationships that I was with from issues that they may have encountered, not realising that was the totally wrong thing to do. And the way that my therapist explained it to me was that if we try to rescue everybody, and say we are successful in rescuing people, what we do is we then take away that process for that individual, which is completely right. I'm a person that likes to fix things what's broken if I'm aware of it, which is ironic because we all like to think that we're not broken, we're whole people, but to a certain extent everyone's broken. So let's just get that out of the way. Being vulnerable is not a weakness. I'll even argue the fact that if you're not ready to be vulnerable, you're not ready to be in a proper relationship, to be fair. That's just my take on it, to be honest. But that learning process is we take that away from individuals. So say if you can be quite controlling in terms of trying to help people, it's not healthy. It's not healthy at all, because you're taking away that learning process for that individual. Now I'm 36, and I believe, and this is no knock, I don't knock anybody, but the generation before, certainly in my generation and my background, is we wasn't given any roadmaps to deal with our issues, our emotions. So what then happens is we act in a way that kind of, and sometimes not in a healthy way, to kind of deal with those emotions. So I'm really keen. I even say it to my kids. I sit down and talk to them about various things, even when they're acting up. I'd rather than get angry and mad, it's kind of changed my approach as a parent, which is really important, to be fair. And it's really just to kind of help them, to give them a roadmap. And I might not necessarily have the answer, but just to talk it out with them so that they understand for themselves what they're currently going through and how they can potentially deal with that. And it's been a really insightful journey, and it's still ongoing. There's never a real finish line with these kind of things. It's kind of, you just continually learning. But yeah, so that was one of my issues. I was just trying to be this hero, controlling, trying to help people, And the right way around that is signposting people, as an example, rather than trying to deal with it for them. Is signposting them, and then that work is left for them to do if they want to do that. It's not necessarily that they are going to do that, but it's a really insightful journey. And I just want to take away that stigma of therapy isn't just for the broken. It's for anyone who's really self-aware of themselves, who wants to know more about themselves, who wants to know about human behaviour. We even touched on quite a few things about trauma. This was really interesting in how people get together through their traumas, not necessarily because they like each other. They can just relate because they share the same trauma. And there's different types of trauma type couples that have been together. It's really, really interesting, really. But just to touch on that a little bit further, when two people get together through trauma, they can connect. But what tends to happen is one of those individuals will want to get past it or heal. And if that individual wants to heal, they can no longer connect with the person that they've been with. They could be together for 10, 20, 50 years, it doesn't matter. And then they don't recognise each other, which is really interesting. I'll have to draw some information. I'll probably put some details in the comments box down below. I have a love-hate relationship with social media, but I'm going to put this in I think it's going to be YouTube worthy, and I'll probably do it once a week. But yeah, again, trauma, anybody who deal with trauma, sorry, there's my phone ringing there. Sorry about that. Who deals with trauma or wants to heal, I strongly recommend therapy. Strongly recommend it. I'm not a big reader at all, but I have learnt to read and the benefits of reading over the years, and it's really helped me to learn and grow. I'd strongly suggest, I don't know if anyone can see that, this book. Yeah, it's better. And it's called The Book You Wish Your Parents Had Read and Your Children Will Be Glad That You Did. And it's almost like a mini therapy session in itself. It talks about various trauma types that you may have picked up and that you don't want to pass on to your kids, essentially. I think I got it from Amazon. I'm pretty sure that they'll still be there now. I haven't finished the book, so I can't give you a complete review. But the stuff that I have read is really insightful and really useful. Things like, when your kid is acting up and we hit the roof. Things like, while we see certain things within them that was in us, and we was ridiculed or told off from our parents, and to stop that, to break the chain, essentially. I'm a keen advocate of breaking chains. Don't get me wrong, I still have my issues to deal with. And it's a work in progress, and I think what therapy does, it consciously brings it to your brain. I think in conclusion, if you're a self-aware person, and you want to understand yourself further, want to understand others, quite a keen advocate for human psychology, I would definitely recommend therapy. It can help with relationships, it can help with yourself understanding, it can help with parenting. It's definitely made me a better parent and have a little bit more patience, for sure. Even down to kids' age, because kids are kids, and while everyone's individual, the age ranges kind of explain certain actions and why they act like that. So it's even important to know those things, really. So, not to flip your lid, not to get angry with your kids, to have a further understanding of how they're growing up and how they're feeling, really. Again, I'll put some links to some therapists within my local area, and maybe one online. I'll put a link to the book that I mentioned. And yeah, I think I'm going to continue to do these thoughts videos, just my thoughts on different things. It can range from a lot of things I think I'll touch on. But today is all about therapy. And if you do embark on a therapy journey, I wish you all the best. It can be taxing. It can be painful, but the journey is rewarding. I'm not going to start saying like and subscribe to all of this and that and the other. It's just for those who may have an interest in therapy. This is just my thoughts on. I was a person that, as I said, had a certain stigma around therapy. I wouldn't touch it at all, and I'm glad I did. Hope to see you on some other ones moving forward, some other videos, and I'll welcome anyone's feedback, comments. I'll open up the comment box if anyone feels that they want to chip in with their views and inputs. I'll see you soon.